What does creativity sound like?
You know, Jeff, you're absolutely right. This is what creativity sounds like. I appreciate it. Let's see, Bob Maple. If I could tell you what the double music was all about, but you wouldn't believe me. Hello, John. Hello, Valentine. Hello, David. Jeff, how are the levels, man? Oh my God, Alan Letteri's in the house. Bob, I would thrash my hair if there were enough of it to thrash. You'll have to do it for me. I got a haircut just for Logic Live this week. How do I look? Happy Sunday is right, Fabrera. Jorge, how are you, man? The levels are solid. Thank you, Jeff. Oh, I got to tell you, man, this was it's coming off of a big week last week for Logic Live. Like actually presenting and running the show at the same time. It was a lot of fun. I'm not gonna lie to you, and I look forward to doing it again. Actually, I have a great spot that I'd love to do a shot breakdown on, or a spot breakdown on. It was an amazing camera technique that I hadn't really seen done before, but we'll have to figure that out. Hello, Jack. Jack Horrocks, ladies and gentlemen. They're here from all over the world, which is wonderful because it's Sunday. And I hope wherever you are, you're having a great Sunday. And Jeff, I know you appreciate this. Oh, thank God Randy's here. We've now reached the very introspective portion of Logic Live, of the music. And we're going to try to time out the fade. This is for everybody out there. Hey, it worked. All right. Happy Sunday, everybody. My name is Andy. Welcome back to Logic Live. Hello, Gennady. I'm very happy to have you here. Let's get underway. Kirk Baldwin is also here. Wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and bring up this little slideshow. And today we are going to have the developer's perspective with our friend from Autodesk, Jasmin Frenette. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask everybody, if you haven't already gone to logiclive.com and registered for the prize drawing for this week, please do. Or actually, if you did, do it again. There was an issue with the Google Sheet that we were using, and I just want to make sure that everybody who registered is in there. So head on over to logiclive.com, fill that out, and we'll give away some merch later. This episode of Logic Live is brought to you by Synesys.io, solutions development, integration, and support. I can't say enough good about the folks at Synesys. They're our own reseller at Lively. I love these guys. We deal with them every single day, and we could not do what we do either in the studio or remote if it wasn't for the support that we get from them. That relationship with the reseller is so very important. And thank you, Synesys, for supporting the Flame community and Flame artists since 1997. And thank you to our friends at AJA, Steve Losi, the man, the myth, the legend. If you are in the market for video hardware, you all know that AJA makes the best video hardware out there. They've been partners with Flame since 2006, and we thank them for their support. We also want to thank our friends at Boris FX. I want to give Boris FX a plug for their Boris FX live shows, which are on Wednesdays. Definitely check those out. They do great, great stuff, and we all know and we all love Brian Fox over there. If you're in the market for anything that Boris FX makes, any of their plugins at all, please use the Logic-15 discount code at checkout. Save yourself some money and support what we're doing here at Logic. Thank you, Boris. And if you are in the need of engineering service or technical support, whether it's cloud-based or on-premises, please reach out to Tom and Tom at Gunpowder at info@gunpowder.tech. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, we got merch. That's right. Randy and I are now legitimate internet personalities. We launched the Logic TV merch store. You can get to it over at logic.tv. You'll see a merch button in the upper right-hand corner. And we're going to give away some of the stuff. I, of course, am modeling a gorgeous Logic.tv t-shirt. If you want to look as good as this, get yourself a Logic.tv t-shirt over at Logic.tv. And Tim Farrell, if you're out there, I think that fanny pack was made for you. All right, moving on. Thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. We really, really, really appreciate the support. The number of names on this list keeps growing, and it just is a true testament to how much you all appreciate what Randy and I are doing here with Logic, and thank you very much. We have 3 tiers of support, or of sponsorship, rather. Over at Patreon, patreon.com/LogicTV. If you'd like to support what we're doing here, get access to some great stuff and some exclusive content. Just as an example, right after the show today, Jasmine is going to do a Q&A exclusively for our Patreon members. So if you'd like to become a member and support us, there's the URL. That's right, Randy. If you only knew. Oh, thank you very much, Gennady. Gennady Snopkov did receive one of the T-shirts. Thank you very much for the good review there. And Logic Academy, ladies and gentlemen, you know him, you love him. Jeff Kyle, who's the heart and soul of the Flame community, has put together a fantastic 3-part Connected Conform series for Logic Academy. If you're interested in this workflow and were afraid to take the plunge, head on over to Logic.tv, check it out. It's all free. We even have an archive up there where you can download the footage and the content. Randy and I have 3 more Logic Academies coming your way. When we might even be releasing one of them as soon as next week. But just stay tuned. We have a great kind of smattering of subjects that we want to cover, and I think you're going to enjoy them all. Jeff, you're too kind. All right, let's get this show on the roll. Wow, that was good. Let's get going here. All right, I'm going to bring on my guest. He is the software manager at Autodesk. You know him, you love him. I mean, you mainly know him from from seeing him on social media, but now we're going to be able to put a face to the name. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jasmin Frenette. Jasmin, how are you? Uh-oh, I muted the guest. Let's try that again. Randy, I nailed the fade, man, but there it goes. All right, Jasmin, how are you?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
Knowing you as I know you, and knowing that you have a passion for audio and for music, you must be absolutely thrilled that when I introduced you here, I had you muted. So,
Yep.
Yes, totally. Well, welcome, man. Thank you so much for coming on to Logic Live for our special Summer of Flame here. Let's get underway. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Autodesk?
Sure. So I'm from Montreal. So I'm right from where Discrete is located, 15 minutes from downtown. My background is obviously well, not obviously. My background is in music recording also. I've started playing the violin at 6 and then moved on to trombone in high school and then drums. And I'm still playing drums right now with my friends from time to time. I've got a recording studio at home, and that's where I am today, and that's where I'm working from since the pandemic as well. I've studied in electrical engineering in the University of Montreal's Polytechnique University. And then because of my interest for music and the musical equipment, recording equipment, and then I got interested by programming over there with my Pascal class. Pascal was I guess a form of programming language that isn't so popular today, but that's what they were teaching at the time. And then I moved on into a master's degree in music engineering in the University of Miami in Florida. And this really was a program that was made for me. It was a mix of music engineering, of course, like electrical engineering and music recording in the studio over there at the university. And we really went through a lot of musical equipment, how they worked, how microphones worked, how digital audio worked, DSP. I did my master thesis on reverberation, artificial reverberation. So I had a blast over there. I did a few internships during this time. I went to work for Ubisoft in Montreal. And then I interned for Discrete Logic at the time in Montreal as well, worked in their audio department. And then after my master's studies, I did a couple of interviews with companies, audio companies in the US that were really interesting, but finally decided to settle in Montreal with my girlfriend and family now, and I've been working for Discrete and later on Autodesk for about 20 years now, so just right after my master's degree.
I think it's wonderful. I think that, one thing we've learned in the course of these conversations with members of the dev team is how many of them have been there for that long. You know,
Yeah, it's true. I'm still working with André and François Paquin and Philippe Jean, who were there before I even got there, and they're still in the same team working with me every day. It's nice.
that's wonderful. And what's your current assignment right now?
I'm currently in the graphics team. So the purpose of this team, it's kind of a team that was formed especially to integrate new graphics API into the Flame software. So we're working on integrating API that's called Vulkan and
Heard of it?
Metal on the Mac. So they're really low-level APIs, so meaning that we really have full control over the graphics card, so we get more performance out of them if we do things correctly, because it's more work because you have to do everything by yourself. We previously used OpenGL, which was a kind of a friendlier language because it would deal with memory management and everything like without us being controlling this. But I guess it was time to move on to newer languages to be able to leverage the new graphics card capabilities.
Wonderful. And I want to applaud the entire Logic Live community for it. It's been 90 seconds since you mentioned anything related to metal, and no one's asked about Flame on M1. So I want to congratulate everyone for being able to stretch this out. But this would be an excellent opportunity for me to remind everyone, if you do have a question for Jasmin, please just go ahead and put it in the chat, and we'll make sure it gets asked. Why don't you go ahead and take us through the structure of the dev team over at Autodesk?
Sure. So the structure changes a bit with our needs and the features we have to do, but usually we're split into different teams, and each team is responsible for one area of the software, obviously. So, for example, we have a data management team that's responsible to integrate new codecs. As we know, there's always a new codec to integrate.
There's always a new codec to integrate.
One or more. We have the VFX team, or the team that's responsible basically to integrate all of the new visual effects, like the 3D tracking, physical defocus, machine learning, everything that's really deep visual stuff. Then we have other teams that are more like generalists programmers who are able to go from one area of the application to the other, like the usability team. And we have other teams that you might not know about because they're more technically oriented, like the graphics team is one example of this. And we have other teams that are integrating new OSs, for example, and new Blackmagic device drivers and other things like that. So that's basically the structure of the dev team. And each of these teams is an agile team. So what I mean by agile is it's kind of a modern way of developing that's more iterative than what we used to do like 20 years ago. 20 years ago, it was more of a waterfall process for development. So we had like design first, and then we coded the feature, then it was tested, and then 6 months later, the user would try it, and then we would find out it was not really meeting their needs. So it would take another 6 months to do the whole process again. So the agile development is basically split into little iterative sprints, we call them, like 2 week. It's 2 week sprints in our case. And in the scope of 2 weeks, we have the time to like design, implement, QA, and then send it to beta testers to get some feedback, and then we can quickly iterate over this and refine the feature until it's ready to go to the users. So basically, each of the what we call the agile teams is made of a product owner that's responsible for triage of the features and the bugs that this team is responsible for. We have a designer that in some of the cases the same person as the product owner, like Fred and Stefan are both designers and product owners. We have developers, we have QA, we have doc specialists, and we have a Scrum Master to make sure everything goes smoothly and to solve the impediments and things like that. So every team is pretty much self-sufficient and able to drive its own backlog. And then every week the team leads just meet and make sure there's no interdependencies or things that might need to be resolved in between the different teams.
Gotcha.
So we're also interacting with other people in the dev team that are outside of the agile teams. Like, for example, we have an agile program manager that oversees the agile development. We have a color scientist, Doug. I don't know if you might have heard of him, Doug Walker.
We met him.
We have an agile coach. We have a content designer that I'm sure everyone will know, Grant K. And then we have other people as well that are helping this development process. And of course, we have other development teams, at Autodesk that are in constant communication with us. I'm thinking about the support team, for example, the product management team, like where Will works, and the marketing team and other teams like this. And finally, we also integrate some components that are common to all Autodesk products, like the licensing component, the installer, the CER, like the crash error reporting tool, and some other components like this that are made for all the Autodesk products.
I have a question for you, actually. The CER, the crash reports, the window that comes up, what is the what happens when I fill those out? And I do try to fill them out diligently.
Yeah.
When it happens, infrequently though, as we know it does, what is the process? When I press send, how does it get to you guys? And are each one of them red?
Okay, here's the process. Every time you log a crash error report, it goes on into our database of crash error reports. And we look at this database like almost daily, not every one of us, but it's looked at regularly. And what we do is we pay more attention to the crash error that happened a lot of times. So for example, if a lot of users are crashing in the same location, or if the same user is crashing like, I don't know, 20 or 30 times in the same location, then this, what we call bucket, will go up the list, and then it will get our attention right away. And then we'll try to understand what's going on with this. So these reports contain the stack, like we have all the functions that were called and where the crash exactly occurred, like the line number and everything. We also get the logs, so what you did previously to the crash to help us out. We're trying to reproduce the issue. And we have the machine specs and other information that might be useful to help reproduce this. So what we'll do is we pay attention to, as I said, the higher buckets, the buckets that are really happening to a lot of people, and then we'll try to reproduce the issue. Sometimes it's trivial, but most of the time it takes some time to like reproduce the issue on our end, because I mean, if it was obvious, we would have catched the issue prior to being in your hands. So most of the time it takes a lot of investigation, I would say, to look at the logs and try to reproduce it. If we're able to reproduce it, then we'll get a fix and get it into either a service pack if it's really important, or we'll fix it and it will be in the next release. Mm-hmm. And if we don't fix it, then we might add some more debug information in order to get more information the next time a client will crash with this stack. Or we might try to contact directly some users if this is someone we know, to help get more insights about what really happened.
Gotcha. I had a question for you about, actually, I did bring up a little super here that Tim Farrell says that he once got a call when he crashed 6 times doing the same thing. Tim, did the person on the other end of the phone say, stop doing that? You know, like, you stop doing the same thing? No, but I've received calls as well when, you know, I've had something that's like repeating, or the crash is happening over and over again. Just want to bounce back for 1 second. You mentioned before like the transition from like a waterfall style of development to agile. Is that something that happened as like did the industry as a whole change? Is that something that happened when Discrete became part of a larger like organization like Autodesk, or maybe
No,
when
I think
we went to a
it was
subscription model, like that kind of thing?
no, it was an industry change. I mean, I think a lot of software companies around also went with this change. It became like more popular, and we noticed that it was giving more like better results. So I think everyone in the industry changed at that time.
Gotcha. I wanted to ask you about like the feature selection process. You know, like we all, or how features get chosen. Really, you know, we all have our favorites. We all have the ones we love to complain about and that we complain to love about. You know, what is that process like? How do you guys pick a new feature and then take us through, you know, the whole process from idea to release?
All right, so I'll start with the basic. So everything comes out of the vision that the product manager has for the product. So in our case, the product manager is called Will Harris, and everyone pretty
We've
much
met him.
knows by now. Yep. So he doesn't do this alone. He has a lot of help, but in the end, that's basically him that's responsible to lay out the vision for the product. And I'm talking about like medium to long term vision. And this vision obviously has to be in line with the Autodesk's media and entertainment division's vision. So this comprises like a lot of different softwares like Autodesk, Maya, and 3ds Max and ShotGrid, and we try to give a vision like that's consistent for all our M&E people, and not really based on product, but more based on a solution we can provide to our users. And this vision is also based on Autodesk's corporate vision, which covers everything that goes on at Autodesk. So Will pretty much works with Media Entertainment's business strategy team into working out this vision. He can get a lot of help from them because they're monitoring the market and the industry trends, and they have a lot of data regarding regarding this. And he also works with, for example, the sales team that can provide some inputs. And there are several other factors or people that are trying to not pull it are trying basically to get their point across. Like for example, I know Will visits a lot of clients, and he gets a sense of what's going on in the business and the new trends and everything like that. He might certainly look at the competition and what other products are doing. Um, he might look at the Flame feedback database just to get a sense of what people are asking, what are the common problems or the recurring problems that are happening these days. We have regular discussions with the tech leads of each agile team and the product owners, and Will basically every month or so, and we discuss. Sorry. What we've seen in the market, because the product owners are also meeting with a lot of clients as part of their jobs, and the dev team may be able to do some suggestions as well. Like we have some hack days, and recently we had some innovation sprints that are basically a time where we take a pause from normal development and work on some ideas that we might have for the product. So sometimes these ideas might influence what the content of the future Flame releases. Thinking about, for example, Matchbox or Lightbox, which was suggested by the dev team as a prototype, and then got to the product eventually. And other examples are the Salient Keyer, the face maps, refraction, light wrap, and several other projects.
So those were all like the result of those little innovation sprints, those couple of weeks of unscripted, you know, just have at it, and you kind of see, and then everyone does a presentation of their product there, and then maybe they
Yep,
make it in.
that's right. That's right.
Did you have
So,
one, or do you have one from anyone from a hack day or an innovation sprint or anything like that that's made it in?
sure. Like I guess I worked with some other devs on the search tool, the tool that allows you to add nodes quickly to the batch schematic.
Mm-hmm.
Like that started as a little prototype, and it got its way recently last year to the product.
Cool.
And then what else? We have Flame feedback. Did I mention this already? I think so. The beta program, of course. Beta program is more for users to comment on the latest features that we are currently adding to the software. But it's a nice forum as well to discuss like the future of Flame and to get the development team in the discussion for some reason if like beta users wants to discuss vision. And then, of course, Logik and other user forums can be a source of information as to what the market looks like and the like. So basically, as you can see, there are a lot of different input sources, and Will has to basically take all this in, and out of this, he has to basically decide on a few vision statements. Usually, it's like, I don't know, 3 or 4 statements, like Flame is going to be going there and there and there, and it's a really tricky process and a really important process. I would say that's the basic of everything that will go on for the next months or years. So it definitely needs to be done properly. And at the same time, it's so difficult because our user base is so diverse. We have, different personas using Flame. Some of them conform artists won't ever go into batch. Some of them will start in batch and stay there, won't even go into the timeline tab. So we have to please everyone, and we can't please everyone. So Will has to basically go in one direction that he thinks is the best place to go for the business for the next years. And sometimes he'll do a little push towards some persona, and then a year later or 2 years later he might try to please another one, because we can't please everyone at the same time, and we try to do a few things but to do them well. So we have to stay focused in our vision.
What's would you say is like and I know it's different, some features are more tentpole features and some are smaller, but what's like the average development time from, initial idea till we see it either in beta or in a release?
Well, I haven't talked about features right now, and you will see that in a minute. So the
Okay.
vision is more like let me take an example. We might want Flame to be able to address the artists that need to do some finishing or color grading, to be able to stay in Flame instead of going to another third-party app. So that might be like one of the vision statement that Will might say. And so from this, as I'll describe later, we'll have to derive like features and everything else. So it can be as quick as like a release, like 3 to 4 months, but usually it's more like a step-by-step approach. So we might do a bit in a release and then a bit more in another release, and over time, like in 1 year or 2 years, then the vision will be fulfilled, and then we'll move on to something else. So it really depends on the difficulty, I guess, or the amount of work that's required.
Gotcha.
So I can go on and talk a bit about what happens once the few vision statements are completed until the user are able to try out the features.
Yeah, go for
So,
it. And again, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat.
all right, so I'll start with the first step. Basically, it's to take each of those mission statements and to build a list of problems that would resolve this statement. So, for example, in the case of that I just used as an example for grading or finishing artists, we might want to provide better control panel support. So that would one problem we need to solve. We might want to improve the performance of Flame. We might want to add a way to add a creative lot just to part of the image to a selective, for example. We might want to, improve the scopes, or, we're going to list everything we think might help solve this vision statement. And to do that, we might do some customer visits. or Zoom calls in these modern times, and try to find out like what's missing basically, or try to learn their current workflow if they're currently doing it but are missing a few tools. We might talk to some like customers that are not using Flame and that are doing this process to understand what's their workflow and how could it be adapted into Flame. We might look for Flame feedback for requests that have been made regarding this mission statement that could be also solved into this process. So we're basically building a huge list of problems that could be solved. And then the next step would be to regroup these problems into what we call epics. Epics are like the solutions we want to offer to solve these problems. So an epic might be a regroupment of different features that will solve the problem. So for example, if we take just the performance aspect of things, we might create a performance epic that we will contain, I don't know, ways to grade on the control surface the Gmask at the same time as we control the master grade, for example, to get more speed. It could contain a feature that would speed up the playback, for example, in the effects tab to make it on par as the timeline playback. It could be working on the speed of the image itself, the speed of the tool. So we're basically building a list of all the features that would basically solve these problems, and we will do that with all the important problems. So we'll basically log like, I don't know, 12, 15 epics, something like that for a big, if there are a lot of problems to solve. And then the next step would be to prioritize these epics and to say, okay, which one of them is going to bring us closer to the result that we need. And this is always done with like the project manager, Will in this case, and the product owner and tech lead of the team that's responsible for this epic. It's always a teamwork. And then once the epics have been prioritized, we're going to basically try to scope the most important ones. So for each of the epics, we're going to take a look at the stories and try to put them in a proper development order based on priority and risk, because we want to address the features that are more risky first, usually, because it gives us more time to fix the bugs or to handle any dependencies or handle whatever could go wrong when doing these features. And so the designer will at least try to give a high-level design of the features in order for the devs and QAs to try to put some estimates of like time estimates and risk estimates for each of the features. At this point, we might also do some prototyping to de-risk some of the features that seem like difficult to implement. Then we'll do an automation plan. The team will try to see how we can automate this to make sure once we've implemented those features that they won't break like 2 months down the line or in 2 years. And
that's QA a very, very, very important thing.
Yeah, we try to do this more and more. It's a thing we started a few years ago, but before, when I started, there was no automation at all, and it was always time consuming to make sure we didn't break anything. And we still do from time to time, but when we do, we add more tests to the automation suite. So all this process basically will allow us to scope the epic and to make it ready for execution. And it's sometimes it takes a lot of time, and that's just for one epic. We need to basically scope all the epics that were judged more important. So it's a lengthy process, but once this process is done, then we basically meet like all the team leads and the product owner and the product manager, the technical leads, the engineering manager meets every month, and we look at the epics that are either in execution or being created or being scoped, and the ones that are completely scoped and that are ready for execution. And with the help of Will, we prioritize them and make sure we're currently working on the right priorities. And when an epic goes from scoping to execution and gets the green light from the team, then that's when we actually start like doing some code changes and to work on the epic. So I can finish by talking about a bit about this process, which is my day-to-day really, and the day-to-day of my team. So basically, as I said, we split the feature process into sorry. We split this into 2 weeks iterations. So every 2 weeks, the iteration starts with a planning where everyone from the team meets and looks at the features that are the most important or that we wanted to tackle next. And we make sure everything is clear for everyone in the team. And then typically the developer will start executing and making the required code changes to make this happen, make this feature a reality. And then the QA will take a look at it, make sure all the edge cases have been tested and that nothing was forgotten and that it matches the spec that we got from the designer. The spec has been done previously normally, so it's already ready when the iteration starts. And then the QA might think about something that doesn't quite work well, even though it was spec'd this way. For sometimes when we try out the feature, we notice that, oh, this doesn't work, or it would take a hotkey for this, or this works fine, let's leave it like this. So it's an iterative process, and we work with the designer and the QA and the dev to refine this feature. And once everybody is good with it, then we'll submit the feature, the code change, for review by our peers. So other devs and QAs might take a look at the code change and give us some comments as to things to test or things we might not have think about. And that's a good way to learn also for the devs. And we'll also run the automation to make sure we haven't broken anything else by doing these code changes. And once everything is done and everyone is good, then we're gonna actually merge the feature in the official build, and the QA will go once again through the build to make sure everything is good. The designer will do one last step to make sure it matches what he had in mind, and if everybody's good, then at the end of the sprint, this feature will go in beta, and the beta users will get a chance to play out with the feature and give us their feedback as to if it works, if it doesn't, what they would change and everything. So it's really constructive feedback, and we use this feedback to modify, if needed, our backlog of features and to reorder the priority of each of the features to make sure it meets their demand. And this process goes on basically as every 2 weeks until we're ready to release the epic. And what I didn't say is that we have like small meetings of like 10 minutes every day just to sync up everyone in the team, make sure everybody's good. And we have also meetings every middle of the sprint to discuss like the backlog, to help the product owner prioritize what's coming next for the next sprint. It gives also a chance for the designer to prepare the design for the features that are coming, and for the devs to do some prototyping to better estimate the features that are coming. So that's pretty much it.
Whew, man. Like, I know that, like you said, this happens basically in like 2-week increments, but like development is ongoing. I mean, you guys work towards a release, but it isn't like, when you press, post the release, everyone goes on like a 3-month holiday to, kind of regroup their strength,
No,
So
well, that's it.
what's kind of the overlap time? Like about how much time is there between when you and the development team are done and then it goes off, I guess, for Q&A and documentation and things like that before you get back onto the, working again?
We're trying to make this as much as an ongoing process as we can, meaning that the doc is made basically as we as we develop the feature, and the QA is done.
Well,
Also,
thank God for word processors.
we still have we still need, like, for example, like a sprint of just, we call this like the release sprint, where we just settle down and calm down the addition of new features, just to give a chance to catch the bugs that could have been added in the last sprint, for example, or few sprints. But like ideally, the automation would catch all of them as we merge the code. But unfortunately, it's not up, like it's not there yet. So we still need like a 2-week period of cool down, and after this, we basically burn the gold, and then it takes a little while for the gold to be in the hands of the clients. But that's more like an Autodesk thing that we don't have any control over. So, and it's quicker for the updates as well.
Does the automation system have like a fun name? Like, is it an acronym, like an abbreviation? Is it like called like FRED or something, and that stands for like feature, reevaluation and distribution or something like that?
I wish it had.
And if
But
not, would you be willing to like open up a contest right now to the Logic community to name the automation system? Excellent. I see Fred in the comments, and so hi, Fred. How are you? Um, I have a couple of questions that have come in. Do you want to take those now, or do you want to keep
Sure.
going?
No,
Okay.
no, no, I can take those now.
First question that's come in is from our friend Alan, and he was wondering what is the potential performance improvements by switching from OpenGL to Vulkan? As though Apple gives you a choice.
It's hard to say, because there are a lot of pieces at play. Like memory management is a big piece of the puzzle. Like we have to do an as good job as OpenGL just to start with, because like OpenGL, it's, I mean, it has been around for 30 years or something like that, so it was really optimized, and we have to do the same manually. So it's a lot of work just to get this on par with OpenGL, but we're working on it, obviously. For some of the things, it's faster, like straight up out of that, but it's really up to us to make it faster in the way we submit things, and like basically it gives us more control over when do we submit things on the GPU, and like we can, if we do things properly, we're able to submit things while we prepare some other things, and while some other things are being, for example, calculated or computed. So it's really up to us to make the performance out of the API. Let's say the API is there, and we can leverage it if we want, but by default it's the same speed as OpenGL. It's really up to us to make a better use of it, and to work on the architecture to make it faster. So I don't have any like basic like speed improvements numbers right now. For some of the things we noticed it's faster. Some of the other things it's basically on par with OpenGL. But again, it's always things that we can tweak to make them faster.
Yeah, I remember I had an education. We did a little bit of software development at Lively, and I had a complete education on the challenges of developing something to run on Metal, to run on CUDA, and to run just on CPU, and guarantee that you get the same result. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that has to
yeah.
look the
Well, I mean,
same, like.
yeah. Part of the things that we work on is just to like be able to transition everything, and make sure we obviously that we get the same results as before, because you don't want a render that was working fine before to give a different image because we've changed the tech underneath. So
No. I do have some breaking news here. I kind of want to share this with the world here from Fred Warren. The only Fred on the Flame team is human. So that's a very big development, and we're all glad to hear that, Fred. Thank you very much. Some other, Oh, okay. Also, Kirk Baldwin is saying, naming the automation tool would break the automation tool. It's like the Schrodinger's cat problem of software development. Let's see. Seb Gonzalez is wondering, will Flame use all the CPU cores and GPU cores on the M1 Mac?
the M1 Mac. Well, the first release on the M1 Mac, should it ever happen, because I'm never know. We'll probably most likely use the Rosetta layer that's provided from Apple to allow us to compile the build for Intel GPUs and then run it on the ARM GPU that's in the Apple M1 Mac. So this emulation pretty much deals with the repartition, or the use of the GPUs as it by itself. So I think it will use on the M1 chip there are some performance core and some energy saving cores. The energy saving cores are basically slower. So I think the Rosetta system, if we give it enough hints, we'll be able to use the most performant cores and use the less performant cores for background tasks or tasks that are not really like processing intensive. But I don't see why we wouldn't be able to leverage those as we do on Linux and on current Mac hardware.
Gotcha. One more question from Alan, and then we'll move on. And that is, any thoughts on batch paint and the recent reports of instability and image contamination?
Well, as soon as we get batch paint bugs that come in our database, they are prioritized and they are assigned to engineers. A lot of times, if we can't reproduce the issue, we won't be able to fix them. But if for example, some issues are reported to support, and support is able to reproduce the issue and log the bug, that's actually something I wanted to cover, how our bug selection process works. So basically, most of the bugs are found by QA before they even get to the users. So we try to fix them before they even see the light of day. Then the automation system is obviously another source of bug. I don't know, the ways to detect bugs, and our beta program, of course, can be there also as a safety net.
I just want to say for the record, it would have been a lot easier to have said that if the automation system had a name. Obviously we realize that Fred is not available as the name, but I just want to throw that out there. And now I will return you to your telling us about bugs.
Yeah, well, we started to add some old batch paint and some old desktop paint automation. So as we move on, hopefully there will be less and less bugs that will appear like this. But some of the bugs are also legacy bugs that were there for a while, but we just didn't know about them. So support is basically our best way for users to report problems, because if you go on your Autodesk accounts, like manage.autodesk.com, and you log in and you report a bug with precise rep steps, and if we're able to reproduce the problem, then we will most likely be able to fix it in a decent time. We don't make any promises, but obviously we try to fix bugs that are either corrupting data or have a high severity first. We might even flag some of them for service back if they're really important, and otherwise we assign them to the next release. And it might happen from time to time that some bugs won't be fixed because, I don't know, they would require a big investment, like a few weeks of dev time just to revamp the architecture and fix the bugs properly. This doesn't happen often, and usually for important bugs we try to actually do the refactoring if it's required, and to plan this in our backlog. So for the specific case of batch paint, I personally fixed some batch paint bugs in the last few months, and I know another friend of mine in my team fixed some this week, and we're regularly fixing those. So I would say to Alan to keep the faith, and we'll solve them as they come in, and try to get rid of them and not to introduce newer bugs.
Love it. And yes, definitely, I can't emphasize enough, if you do come across a bug, it's fine to share it with people on the forum or on Logik on Facebook, but definitely log the bug. Report it if you can. Record a screen recording or something so that it can. Anything you can do to help the team reproduce it, It just increases
Yeah.
the efficiency or the time it would take to get it addressed.
Yeah, because in the forums, I mean, we see sometimes users complaining like, "Why isn't this fixed?" And some of the times it's like those are bugs in the areas of the software that I know that I work on, and I'm not seeing them in my backlog, so I'm not even aware if the bug has been reported. Are Were we able to reproduce it? And in most of the case, either the user doesn't have time to report it, or I think someone else might have certainly report it, and that's not the case. So unfortunately, like we won't be able to proactively spend some time and find bugs. I mean, I've other things to do. Not that I wouldn't want to fix some bugs from time to time, and sometimes I do. But it's the best way to get a bug fix is really to report it and to make sure we're able to reproduce it on our end.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's see. Are there any other questions coming in? Here's one from Jorge. How crazy is it to consider how much does the API need to be open in order to integrate Keen Tools inside Flame? Keen Tools, that's the face tracker in Nuke, right, Jorge? Any thoughts
That's
on that? Or are you
That's a pretty
familiar with
good
the tool?
question. We have the OpenFX tool that might be able to help with this. Yeah, the OpenFX plugins. I mean, we've had developers previously develop a like a standard OpenFX plugin that can leverage different techniques such as machine learning. So if like unless there's a conflict between the machine learning tools, which did happen unfortunately in the past, because we're also using machine learning third-party tools in the Flame. And but if the plugin is well written and doesn't expose like symbols, it should be fine. So that would be the best way, I think, to integrate this into Flame.
Cool. Oh yeah, Jorge here says that I guess the owner of that Keen Tools mentioned it was an API issue. Good to know. All right. Do you have a favorite? How do I ask this question properly? Do you have a favorite child? No. Do you have a favorite? Either like a feature that you developed, or when I say a bug that you squashed, like just something a technical like hurdle that you overcame, maybe in the transition from Unix to Linux or Linux to Mac or Anniversary Edition or anything like that. Is there something in the 20 plus years that you really really are proud of that would speak to the true like Flame geeks here that are on?
Yeah, well, sometimes it's the little things like having a 24 frame per second playback, no matter what the screen resolution is or screen speed is. It's taken for granted by all the users. Like, but sometimes it's a really difficult thing to achieve and to get the audio in sync with it, and to get like performance out of the player, like to get it smoothly playing back. So it has in the past it has been the source of let's say difficulties, because
Let's
of
say.
we have also the Blackmagic design or AJ um, box that's like reading out of the player. So Flame basically loads the image on the GPU, does some processing, displays the image on screen, and then we take this image and bring it back into memory, and then send it to the AJA box, and it has to appear like seamless on the AJA and on the high res as well. And they both have different refresh rates, so sometimes it's not trivial to make all of this happen without any glitches. So that's one of the things. Another thing that comes to mind is the vector scopes that we did a couple of years ago. Not because they're particularly difficult, or it was just the first time I worked on writing actual shaders. Obviously, I had a lot of help from Doug Walker, who did the algorithms, but I did the implementation, or the how could I say, the integration of those algorithms in Flame in the actual viewport. And I did the UI as well with the help of the team, Fred and all the others, QAs and docs. So this was a pretty fun thing for me to do as well.
I guess this is I've seen this in other interviews. The blank check question. If like money was no object and time was no object, uh, what would you? And I know you. I'm not asking you to to reveal any secrets or anything like that. But what would you like to either put into Flame or do as a developer?
Well, you asked me this last week when we met for this interview, and what I answered is that I would basically like to go through our current roadmap to whatever Will sees as the most important things to put in Flame, and to go through it as fast as I could. Like if we were, I don't know, so many developers, or if I had like 100 hours per week, because I know I have the ability to do some of them, and I wish I would work faster and be able to deliver more of them, and have the QA to assist me, and the devs and the designer to help me out with this. So I don't have anything in mind that I would like Flame to have that's not already in our roadmap, but I would like everything to move quicker, I guess. Yeah.
Love it. And before I go, before I go and give away some prizes, I just want to remind everybody to please go ahead and just register your at logiclive.com. Even if you did, do it again just to make sure I have your name on the list. Randy had a very important question for you, Jasmine, and that is, do you prefer vertical or horizontal reels? And where do you stand on the important issue of flame versus smoke hotkeys?
um,
And a reminder, this is being recorded.
oh yeah, of course. I forgot what I wrote when I logged into the Logic.tv forum. I usually use horizontal reels just because I spent so much time on the reels when we first went from smoke to flame, and they gave me so much headache into making them work in horizontally and vertically and reverse, and we always had one bug remaining just in this mode, and then we would fix it and it would break the other mode, so it was a real nightmare. So, but like in the recent years, we had like less bugs regarding those, so hopefully we won't get too much in the near future. Regarding the other question, I actually like the Final Cut hotkey set because it reminded me some audio software that I was using at home. So with the space to be able to stop and hit play stop with the space, and zoom with the F and G or things like that I map myself. I'm actually doing my vacation videos using Flame, so uh, but I'm sometimes using the Flame hotkey set as well, because sometimes you're kind of you're in need of more control with the that's not offered by the Final Cut hotkey set.
I think that you're admitting here that you use the Final Cut hotkeys is I found like your soulmate, like your perfect, like the perfect match for you in John Agapetos, who said that's Randy. Hold on, or in John Agapetos, who said that freeform is actually the correct answer for horizontal versus vertical reels. So congratulations to you, John. That's
Yeah,
great.
I actually started with Freeform because I was in the smoke team when I joined Discrete.
Hmm.
And then of course a few years later we added reels and basically moved everything into the same architecture. But
That's wonderful. Thank you very, very much, Jasmine. This has been great. I wanted to put up here something from Jeff that I saw, which was I was scrolling through the comments. Yes, very cool insights. Didn't know much about the dev cycle, so thank you so much for sharing your time with us, for kind of enlightening us, and for kind of just illustrating really what goes on behind the scenes. There are people there on the other side of this
yeah.
process, and
And
I know, like
one
speaking for
last thing I
myself, I've
wanted to say
oh
regarding
yeah, sure.
the vision and how we come up with this is that this is my own like personal way of like that I see things. I'm sure if you would ask Will, he would see things differently, and he's ultimately the one that knows a lot more about this. So that's at least my vision of it. And I'm sorry. I apologize to Will if I had some if I said some mistakes over there.
Oh, like I said, it's recorded, so you really don't have to worry. The internet's forever, so you have nothing to worry about. on that front. Jasmine, thank you very much, my friend. I'm going to give away some prizes, but Jasmine's going to join us in a few minutes over on the Patrons Q&A. Again, if you'd like to get in on that, patreon.com/LogikTV. All right, let's see if I can remember. It's been a whole week, so let me see if I can remember how to do this. Here we go. Oh, the music, Randy. And that would be... There we go. All right, let's see here. We're going to give away a Logik t-shirt. And I believe I have everybody's name in on the list. Let me just double check. Yep, we're good. And speaking of Jorge, yay! Congratulations, man. All right, congratulations, Jorge. I know the music, Randy, right? It was wonderful. Let's close out this episode here by going to the list of what's coming up on Logik Live. We were going to try to do a Render Dome next week, but we're going to have to push that back to September. So we are going to resume here in 2 weeks' time on August 22nd, where the lovely and the talented Grant K will be returning. I just want to call out like Grant's Flame capsule that was released Friday, the one that shows you like what the error on the batch node is. Was like mind blowing, like game change, like the greatest thing of all time. So thank you, Grant, and I can't wait to have you back on Logik Live. On Sunday, August 29th, we're going to have the Colorist's Eye with our friend Hardev Grewal. And then we're going to be off for the Labor Day holiday, but we're going to come back on September 12th with our friends from Boris Effects and take a look at Sapphire 21.5 release. The forum. Thank you so much, Randy McEntee, for everything you've done to get this community going. The forum is the place to be if you are a flame artist. We get on an average of 5,000. Randy, I probably have to update this, but 5,000 plus page views a month, over 100,000 per day, over 100,000 page views per month on the forum. The response time is wonderful. It's just a wonderful community, and thank you, Randy. If you're not on the forum at forum.logik.tv, please sign up. This episode of Logik Live, just like all the others, will be available on the website later today. If you haven't already checked out our podcast, please check out the Ask a Flame Artist podcast, produced by our very own Randy McEntee and MBME, where they answer any questions you might have. So you can go to logik.tv/askaflameartist, submit a question, and then tune in, subscribe, and see if it makes it into a future episode. Speaking of future episodes, on Tuesday, I'm going to be releasing another episode of the Logik podcast, where I had a wonderful interview with Jean-Marc Laurent. He's a flame artist based up in Montreal, and we just had this wild conversation about the state of the business, how working remotely has changed everything, and he's just an amazing guy, very, very insightful. So that'll be on Tuesday. Be sure to subscribe either really on any of their podcatching apps of choice, but I know we have it registered on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and in Stitcher. We're actually up to 1.13 thousand, Randy, subscribers, so I will update that. But if you haven't already subscribed to Logik YouTube channel, please do. Thank you to all of our patrons on Patreon. If you have any need for anything in the world of technical support, please reach out to Tom and Tom at gunpowder.tech. Don't forget the Boris Effects discount code. Save 15% on any Boris Effects product, standalone or subscription, when you use the code Logik-15 at checkout. And be sure to check out their Boris Effects lives on Wednesdays. The merch store is open. Make sure you get your stuff. And when you do, take a picture and send it over to me. And we'll make sure that it's shared. Thank you, AJA. Thank you, Synesys.io. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, community. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Take care, everybody.